All right, I'm gonna. Blowing out that microphone already. Are we recording good? Excuse me. Yeah, I'm not even gonna bother doing any fancy editing. I'm just gonna jump right into what I'm talking about in this video. If you watched my previous two model train layout videos, I have a little bit of a change to the model railroad, which you probably can already see. So let's go actually over there. So my last couple videos, the layout was in my garage, and that gave me a lot of working room, a lot of space to actually work on and build this layout, and that was great. That was awesome. There was just one problem. Well, there were lots of problems. The big problem that I just could not get over was just the fact that because I live in Nevada and it's over 100 degrees outside most of the time, my garage was incredibly, where did I put my soda? Hot, right? Whoop. That's my cat's toy right there. Incredibly hot. Like we're talking over 100 degrees almost the entire day, even in the evening. So going out into my garage to work on the layout, it was just abysmal. I'd be out there just drenched in sweat, just coming over here and going like this, just twiddling a switch, just spraying some paint, just laying some cork. And that was just brutal on me. I'd go out there and I would drink like 3 or 4 bottles of water in a single work session that's 2 hours long. And then on top of that, because it was so hot, the layout itself was hot. My models were getting hot. Let me show you these right here. This nut and bolt washer set right here. This nut and bolt washer set right here, right? These are actually what join these sections together. So this piece right here is held in alignment with two of these right here. These were so hot it burned my hands. Like it was hot in my hand when I was unbolting them to move them into my living room. And I thought, well, that's not good for my health. I can't go out there and enjoy this layout if I'm sweating my ass off the entire time. It's not good for my health. The only time I could really go out there and enjoy the layout is for a few months in the winter, and then my garage gets cold. I could put an AC unit out there, but the garage isn't fully properly insulated, and so it would just be wasting energy. Additionally, another problem I was having was I only have one outlet in my garage, and it was in the ceiling for the garage door opener. And while it had two plugs, the only way I was able to get power to the layout was to plug an extension cord in there, run it along the ceiling, drop it down, and then run it back along to where I could plug the layout in. But that meant it was difficult to plug in tools, to plug in the layout, to plug in anything that I really needed to use to work on the layout. So no air conditioning, no real electrical outlets out there. And then the other thing was like lighting. Because I only had that one outlet in the ceiling, there were two lights in the garage. Two lights in the garage. The first light was just a regular incandescent bulb, and the second light was a dimmer incandescent bulb inside the garage door opener itself. And so when I would go out there to work on the layout, I'd have one light. It wasn't really providing very good lighting, but it had one light. And to try and install additional lighting in the garage would have just, with the limited plugs, would have just been a nightmare. And so the last couple of weeks after my last live stream and last video kind of on this layout, I've been really noodling on, will it fit in my living room? Obviously it will. I've had to make some changes, and I'm not done making those changes. It's 9 o'clock at night, and I don't want to start cutting and hammering and drilling lumber at 9 o'clock at night because I know my neighbors probably have work or school tomorrow, so I don't want to make too much noise. But obviously, one of the big changes that had to happen was I had to put bigger legs on the layout. So that way, what I can do, and this is actually a really cool feature of the layout, I can move this chair here, right? I'm going to put this here because I don't trust myself right now. This right here, this table, just rolls out, So once I finish cleaning it up, I can use this as a work table to build models, fix locomotives, do whatever I need to do. Or maybe I'm working on one of my robots and I can sit here in my chair, and then when I'm done, it just quietly just rolls into there. I have to put some cross bracing still on some of these legs so the layout doesn't wobble. It's not bad. But the added bonus is when I'm sitting here in this chair, it puts it closer to eye level. And then I even have a little red rolling shop stool that I can get even lower and put the trains even closer to your eye level. Something to note. When you have the train closer to your eyes, not only does it make it easier to see the details, but it makes it appear bigger. However, and this is my biggest pet peeve in the model railroading community, is someone will be like, I want to take a video of my model train running. I've got my cell phone. And they're going to put it right here. They're going to put it right here, right up next to the tracks. So that way it looks like they're standing right there. And that's so bad. I'm going to do a whole longer breakdown, but basically that looks like garbage because autofocus and whatever. Long story short, if you want to make it look like your trackside, put your camera way back here and use the zoom function to get closer. Anywho, let's talk about some more changes to the layout that I want to do. I have to move where my little controller hanger goes because this isn't going to work here anymore. I'm probably going to move this maybe right here or right here. I don't know yet. I am eventually going to convert over. Right now I'm using the NCE Power Cab, and then I connect it to my computer, which I don't know how I'm going to do that just yet now that the layout's now over here. But eventually I'm going to probably switch over to the Easy DCC or whatever it is, the one that's like a little Arduino that you just and like Wi-Fi, which if I do that, cool. Additional things I want to do. I'm going to move this chair so we can see. So originally the layout was going to be a 15-foot long straight run with this little L piece coming off here to give me a little corner to do something. Putting this here, taking this one section and rotating it 90 degrees is just the right length to go from my sliding glass door to right here and not block this walkway. This walkway needs to stay clear because this is the walkway to my bedroom. I'm not going to open that door because my bedroom's a mess. But what I'm thinking of doing is taking this part here now, because I could leave it like this, but this is a pretty tight little spot to sit, and I don't like it, and this is protruding. This is when I'm playing VR. This is my VR space, so it is protruding a little bit into my VR space. So what I'm thinking of doing is taking this off and rotating it here and extending it out to about here, which would still give me plenty of room to come in through my front door. I wouldn't really be able to use my sliding glass door to go out into my patio, but I don't go out into my patio anyways. I think the only time I've gone out there was I had some friends over one night, and they're like, hey, we're going to go, smoke a bowl. And they went out there because I was like, just don't smoke in my apartment. And that was fine. I still need to clean up some of the stuff under here. And everything. But I'm happy with this. Oh, one more thing. The reason why I want to rotate this is because there's supposed to be a passing siding and a couple industry tracks right here. And as this is sitting right now, this would have to be just one continuous curve. And while I could do it, it would work and it'd be fine. I'm not happy with it being one continuous curve. I'm almost thinking that this will be a straight section of track here. You'll turn, and then the passing siding will start, about at this piece of wood here, and the other end of it will be here. And the idea is you build your train here in the yard. You come down. You work one industry over there. You come down here. You do a runaround move. You work one industry down here, and then you head back up this way. Maybe I leave this and I do an extension here. Maybe I make this a little narrower for that one industry that's down here. I don't know. I'm going to play around with this a little bit in my head tonight and tomorrow while I'm at work. And maybe I'll have a good idea of what I want to do with it tomorrow. Some things that I want to talk about too, since the last video, I did put down some paint. I've got my road bed installed for the yard. I've got like 70% of the road bed is installed for the yard. The only reason why I haven't done more is I don't know exactly what I want to do with this part of the layout right here just yet. Uh, Obviously, this right here, I'm going to put a turntable, which I'm going to 3D print a turntable. So I've already measured out, and this is about where it's going to go. This is where it's going to go, and this is about how big it's going to be. Might move it a little more forward. It'll only have a few tracks here and maybe one track here, and then this track going this way. I thought I could probably put another switch right here and have like another industry right here, but I'm kind of gonna feel it out. I'm gonna feel everything out and see if that works for me. Maybe another service track right here. Uh, so yeah, that's why I haven't finished putting the road bed down right here to the turntable pit just yet. What else? The last thing, I don't know if I've talked about this before, but I want to talk about kind of the region I'm modeling, the railroad I'm modeling, all that sort of stuff, and kind of the time frame. And I'm modeling the Tuscola and Saginaw Bay, what I'm calling this layout, the Tuscola and Saginaw Bay Broadman Lake branch line, which is about 12 miles of track from Traverse City, Michigan to, I want to say it's Garns? I have the internet. There's so many like grains and G's places that I know of that I always flip-flop them in my head. So let me just pull up my handy dandy map of Michigan. And by that I mean Grawn. Grawn. Oh, what the hell? I'm US, or not US, is it US 31 or is it Michigan 31? M31 is closed between Grawn and just on the other side of Interlaken. Huh, that's interesting. The reason why I'm modeling this particular line, is when I was much younger, we're talking much younger, my parents were divorced. And it's not something I really talk about too much, but my parents were divorced, and I would go and visit my dad every other weekend. And for a while, he lived in Interlaken. He lived in Traverse City. He lived in Traverse City for a short while, right in an apartment, and I think the apartments are gone now, but right next to this rail yard. Then he moved to Interlaken for a while before moving back into Traverse City. But when he lived in Interlaken, I would be in the car with my dad. Well, I don't know, I'm doing this motion. I was sitting there like this. Me in the car with my dad or my grandma going up to visit him for the weekend. And we'd be going down M31, and I would see the train tracks that parallel M31 through Grawn and all of that. And I always thought to myself, man, it'd be so cool to see a train on there. And I would say that, and then my dad would be like, oh, but they only run on the weekdays, and you're only ever here on the weekends. I'm like, well, I want to come on a weekday, and I want to see the train running. I was like 6 years old when this was going on, so yeah. But I always thought that line was kind of a little interesting rail line, because if you actually look at it, you come up north from Cadillac into Traverse City, and then you come back down, and there's only like not even a mile. It's like a half mile between these two tracks or two lines. The line going up into Traverse City, and then the line going down that went towards I think it's Petoskey and all that. I'd have to double check my maps, because they're going around Broadman Lake. And this yard, which was originally a Pere Marquette yard, did in fact have a turntable in this very area, and it went all the way down. Well, while I was trying to come up with an idea for a model railroad a few months ago, last fall, back in the spring, I was looking at Google Maps, finding real-world locations, specifically in Michigan, because I wanted to model the Tuscola and Saginaw Bay, because I have this really nice GP35 that I want to run. And I was looking at different places and going, I don't know if I could fit that. I don't know if I could fit that. I don't know if this would work. I don't know if that would work. And finally, one day, I just went to railpictures.net, railpictures.com. And I typed in Tuscola and Saginaw Bay Railroad. And I just started scrolling through the pictures. And I found a photo, not of 389, but of a different one of Tuscola and Saginaw Bay's locomotives, working in industry in Grawn. And I was like, why does that look familiar? Why does that look familiar? And I found where it was, and I was like, oh, that's the rail line I used to go by all the time when I was going to visit my dad. And like even when he moved back into Traverse City, we would go by that rail line. So I was just like, I gotta model that. I gotta model that. If I can't do my big, huge Saginaw subdivision like I would love to do, I'm gonna do this small little branch line. And I think one of the big deciding factors in that was, every layout that I've built over the last couple of years has been built with the idea of I'm going to have me and a couple of my friends driving the trains. And then it's like I'm building it for 3 or 4 people to come operate, and it's just me. So this layout is built for just one person to operate. There's enough room and a little bit of creative liberties being taken with the layout to allow for 2 people to possibly run a train, run 2 different trains, but realistically it's just going to be 1 person. Some of the creative liberties I'm taking is the Tuscola and Saginaw Bay Railroad and the CN. Well, the Pere Marquette never, in my alternate take on history for this rail line, when the Pere Marquette was eventually absorbed into the CNO, and this line kind of slowly started to go downhill, they never got rid of the turntable. You see, as they were preparing to get rid of in my alternative history at least, as they were getting ready to get rid of the turntable, the Traverse City Historical Society decided they wanted to preserve the roundhouse and the turntable and do a little museum to the rich history of railroading in Traverse City. And the museum never got built because it got tied up in bureaucracy, but the turntable and a few locomotives and pieces of rolling stock are kind of there. So that's why I'm going to be able to get away with having a steam engine and having an SW1 there. And my alternate take is the rail line, even in nowadays, is the art is still there, but the only real industry is a scrap dealer, and it's train cars go in and they don't come out. Which I want to model that. I'm actually gonna. They don't even have a siding. They just park the cars on the main. The locomotive comes in, drops the cars off, and leaves, and they cut them up right there in the main. I'm going to model that, but I'm actually going to have a little spur track. And so, like, you'll spot a gondola and an old-looking hopper car. And then the next op session I pick that hopper car off, put a scrap load in the gondola, and turn its waybill over. And it's like, oh, that's what that was for. But my alternative history is, the industries here never really died down. They still have enough, enough business to warrant a train a couple of times a week train. So the Tuscola and Saginaw Bay Railroad, which did eventually become GLC in my alternative history, kept 389, which is painted as a city of Traverse City, in Traverse City, operating as, TSB 389, although on radio they would call it as GLC 389. And a small crew based out of there that basically works a few times a week going and servicing the industries on this branch line. And every so often they send the locomotive back down to Owasso to get serviced, and then it comes back up, and in that time a different locomotive is brought in. So this will allow me some flexibility in running modern rolling stock and even some modern locomotives. But I think this video has gone on quite long enough. I would like to thank you guys for watching. If you like this video, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Check the link in the description below for my Twitch channel. I will continue to work on this layout and live stream it, and it's going to be much easier now that it's in my living room and not in my garage. I will talk about that and the technology that's going to go into this layout in another video, because I don't want this one to run too long. How long are we up to? We're up to about a 20-minute video. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. Check the link in the description below for my Twitch channel. I will be doing some work on the layout tomorrow. I'm recording this on Monday. I will be doing a live stream on Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Pacific time. That is 9:30 Eastern. I'm sorry, guys. I live in Vegas. I work till 5. What do you want from me? I have to deal with traffic, and I have to eat food still. So, 6:30, and it'll be about 2 hours. I'll be doing a little bit of tinkering, probably on that back section of the layout, and answering any questions and kind of going a little more in depth on some stuff. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys all in the next one.